Rece, what would you say are the keys for Kentucky in this game?
I think they have to control Kansas backcourt. I think the experience and magnitude of this game, sometimes you get veteran guys. Kentucky will have the advantage of being at home, but those two backcourt guys have played a lot of games and made a lot of big shots. So I think that would be the first thing I would say, is making sure that Mace and Graham don't control the game.
What about coming to Rupp Arena? What's it like for game day? This is the sixth time y'all have been here.
It's nothing like it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and be disingenuous. My favorite place to see a college basketball game is Allen Fieldhouse. There's nothing better than that. That said, there's no crowd like this one. There's no other crowd in America that takes such great delight and has the swag, perhaps the Drake attitude, with Kentucky feelings to say, we're Kentucky and you're not. And I love that. I love that about Kentucky. I love the fact that they will sit up there in that crowd, all 23,000 of them, and they will pick apart every little thing that doesn't go just right. But if I say it, that's sorry, Rece Davis, he's no good. He can't talk about my team, but I can. I love it. I love their fan base. They're so loyal, passionate, and into it, and knowledgeable. It makes it fun. And there's nowhere else on earth where we've come in I think this is the 13th year of the show. Nowhere else on earth would they ever print out tickets on Ticketmaster or whatever and put 22,000 or whatever it was for the morning show as they did, and I hear they may be trying to do something similar tomorrow. So it's a great place. We love coming here because they love the game, and they love their team and their tradition, and they love to show it off.
Are the craziest fans the reason why you guys exist in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we bemoan them, but they're sort of the reason why we all have jobs, why you can sustain a traveling show like this.
Of course. And, it's funny. I try not to get that way about fans, even the radical ones, because all of us who do this for a living, our job is to view from 30,000 feet or whatever cliche you want to use, to try to be, I don't know if anybody is truly objective with no feelings about anything, but it is incumbent on us to be fair about everything and view from a larger perspective. That's not true for a fan. The fan's job and their only obligation, how does this affect my team? How does this affect about the way I feel about my team? How does this affect the way I think that guy ought to feel about my team? That's what makes it fun, man. I mean, that's why people talk about sports. So I never, I do my best to never get, well, these fans should, take a step back. Let them have fun. It's great. I love it.
Well, how do you feel about our team in UK?
Very talented, as always, obviously young. I don't know that there's another coach in the country who could handle these guys year in and year out and turn over the roster and assimilate them into a unit the way Cal does. I think there are several people who can do it at times. Cal seems to be masterful in doing it over and over and over, which is a remarkable thing. I think Monk is, you guys who, if I say this out loud, somebody's going to jump on me and say there's somebody else, but I don't know that in terms of just a pure scorer, of all of these guys that have come through here since Cal's been here, he might be my favorite to watch. I think Bam Adebayo reminds me, he looks like Dwight Howard to me, and I'm starting to start a campaign for slam dunk calls for Bam Howard, like you Bam Skippy or Bam Straight or I don't give a Bam, any of those things like that, because he's got all these dunks. And so they're a fun team to watch. They're getting up and down the floor. Fox is ridiculously fast, and I like scoring, so I really like to watch them.
Kentucky has scored a lot. They've also given up in SEC play 80 plus 3 or 4 times. Seth said they play defense like a freshman group sometimes. What do you think?
They do. I mean, I think you're seeing a lot of that around college basketball at times, that you're seeing an emphasis on offense. And I'm not going to complain about it, because I'm one of the ones who's been saying, hey, let's go, like it was when we grew up. And I like seeing the game up and down a little bit. And look, I want to see offenses execute against good defensive effort, but I don't want to see a wrestling match. So, give one up every now and then so you go get it back on the other end. I'm kind of okay with that. I'm sure Cal's not, but from watching the game, I'm okay with that to a degree. Now, will they have to buckle down in big games and tournament games in this game and play good defense? Yeah, but I think they've also shown the capabilities and the aptitude when the moment is right that they'll guard, and they'll guard when they need to. I mean, they always need to, but you know what I mean. When the stage gets big, there will be a different type of defensive intensity.
A couple of years ago in the Big East, they played bully ball. I mean, it was, they fouled left and right. And UK has had a lot of games where there's been 180 fouls in 4 games, and they still score in the 80s. Is offense back in college basketball where for a while it felt like it was, tough to score?
I think the rules changes have helped. I think watching the success of teams like the Warriors has helped. Guys want to play that way. Coaches want to coach that way. Fans want to watch the game that way. So I think it's certainly improved. I mean, I'm just coming from a game last night. I saw Indiana and Michigan. Michigan played great. There was a point in the game when Indiana was shooting 58% from the floor and they were down 20. So that's a little bit of an aberration, I understand. But I do think that that you're seeing a little more space for shooters. I think they're doing a better job protecting shooters. And as a result, players have adapted, coaches have adapted. And I don't know that I can sit there and give you tangible chapter and verse evidence, but I feel like in watching games all the time, being at games, I feel like coaches aren't trying to orchestrate every dribble the way they did in some recent years. Now, I may be wrong about that, but it feels like they're letting guys go, and I'm glad to see it.
How much of the SEC have you watched this year, and are they as bad as everybody else claiming they are?
They're not good. I mean, as a whole, I jokingly said that in some ways this year, Kentucky reminds me a little bit of Gonzaga because they have to do all of their business outside the league, say for maybe just a couple of games here and there. I think that what I've watched of the SEC, and I admittedly have not watched it as fervently as I did when I was calling SEC games on Thursday nights. I'm doing the Big Ten for the last few years. There are some good teams and good coaches, but there's just such a drop, from the overall talent level from Kentucky to the others. Florida has a good team, but they don't seem to have, a legit number one big-time guy that really scares you. Kentucky's got, 3 or 4 of them. The rest of the league, I think, they need to get to a position where their teams are old. To draw a comparison, Mike Bray at Notre Dame sort of has a philosophy that his teams will be best when they become older teams. He has established a program so well that his teams are perpetually old. There's always someone willing or someone ready to step into that junior senior role. Looking around the SEC, I don't see that as much. Bruce Pearl's a terrific coach, and they've got some young talent, but they've been really inconsistent. Avery Johnson, certainly a proven coach at the NBA level. They're going to have talent next year. They don't now. I think Georgia's a team that probably could be better. They, had a rough go the last week or so, but some of the other teams are in transition. I think Mississippi State and Alabama, for that matter, both in transition. Vanderbilt certainly is. So I think you have all of those things kind of factoring together, and what it does is it doesn't help Kentucky's resume. But Kentucky plays so many non-conference games that they'll be well tested. Plus the fact, I think you can't underestimate the test that a team like Kentucky gets when they go to Tennessee. And for Tennessee, it's, you're getting their best shot every night. That same Tennessee team, they're not likely to show up in Baton Rouge playing like that. But that's human nature. It's okay, and it's part of the price of being an elite program as Kentucky is.
So the game this Saturday is pretty much a must-win if Kentucky wants to secure that number 1 seed in the tournament.
I think it's a little early to call anything must-win. I mean, so much can happen from this point forward. If Kentucky were to lose on a three-pointer at the buzzer and then run the table the rest of the way, really going to eliminate them from consideration for 1 seed? I don't think so. So I wouldn't say this. I think it's a great spectacle that can certainly help the winner, putting another quality win on the resume, a huge elite level win on the resume, but I wouldn't characterize it that way. There's just too much can happen over the last half of the season, a little less than that now.